What's up, comic book community? My name is Joe, and you're watching 360 Comics. Over the weekend, as per usual, I got up early, I put on my comic book hunting hat, and I hit up the flea markets. This weekend in particular, I got some really great stuff from some dollar bins. I pulled out the 30 best books to show you today, and make sure you stick around to the end because I'm saving the 5 best for last. Don't forget, for the month of September, we are doing weekly giveaways, and this week's prize is sitting right next to me. Ultimate Spider-Man number 160, The Death of Peter Parker. All you have to do to enter is make sure you subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up for a like, and leave a comment down below. You can also get additional entries by liking and commenting on our other videos from this week, and make sure you turn that bell on for notifications so you know about future videos and future giveaways. Good luck. In between all the Labor Day sales and other activities, I still found some time to make it to the flea markets. I went to a couple this weekend and bought from a handful of dealers. Let's get into what I got. First up, we've got Power Girl number 1, and I believe this is the first solo Power Girl title. This was, I believe, a 4-issue miniseries back in the late 1980s. It's got a great cover, and definitely a character that is kind of on that level where they're really popular among comic book readers, but not really, a mainstream well-known character yet, like the members of the Justice League and stuff like that, but that definitely could change, so we'll wait and see what happens. Speaking of changing, we've got Shade, the Changing Man number 1, his first appearance, and this is a book that has been on my radar for a while, due to my buddy Jim from Bronzeville Comics. He's been talking about it both on his channel and to me personally for a while, so I've been on the hunt for it, and I have not found a copy yet until this weekend, sitting right there in a dollar bin. I was very happy to find that. Shade was a member at one point of the Justice League Dark, and that is a property that they have talked about using before. There were some, I think it actually went beyond rumors. I think it was, confirmations of things, but it seems like it's been shelved at this point. There really hasn't been news on it in a while, but hey, I've got my fingers crossed because I'm not a huge Justice League fan, but I could definitely get down with the dark side of that, and I'll be holding on to this in my spec box for the time being. And speaking of Justice League Dark, this next one is pretty cool, and I'm very happy to have picked it up because I really wanted to own a copy. This is the trade paperback of Justice League Dark from the New 52 run, which is, I believe that's the first run of, with the Justice League Dark title. And it's issue 1 through 6 of the comics, compiled into a trade paperback. Again, something I'm definitely just keeping for myself on my shelf, and hopefully I can find some time to get to reading it soon. Then we've got some regular Justice League, the boring, old, not dark Justice League, but definitely a great book to pick up if you can find it in a dollar bin. This is the New 52 reboot of Justice League, issue number 1. It does not really have any, first appearances or anything like that, but still is a valuable book. I guess people just really like this run, and it's certainly one of the New 52 runs that people do collect. And guess what? I found not just 1 but 2 copies from 2 different dealers. I found these in different places, actually different flea markets altogether, but yeah, for a buck, could not pass that up. Then we've got Spectacular Spider-Man number 189. I always forget the number on these. This is one of those, foil covers they did for all 4 Spider-Man titles. Now, Amazing Spider-Man 365, that is the best of the best. Not only is it the main Spider-Man title, but it's also the first preview appearance of Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. But nonetheless, they all still have some collectability. The Web of Spider-Man one's green. The regular Spider-Man one is red, the Amazing Spider-Man is black, and this one's blue, of course. Now, one really cool thing about this that I'm actually going to take a second to show you, the inside of this book, because it has one of the coolest pieces of comic book art in the centerfold. And always be careful, make sure that this is there before you buy the book, because you don't want it without it, because it's incomplete otherwise. But just look at this. We got Black Suit Spider-Man versus the Hobgoblin. 2 of my favorite Spider-Man characters, or versions rather, and just this awesome, almost like a watercolor painting of this. I'm actually not even sure who does the art I don't see an artist signature on it, but I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna get that information because that is just it's such a cool book, and such a cool thing. And I honestly, that's something that I would take out and put on my wall. To be honest, maybe I could find like a larger blown up version of it. But anyway, moving on to the next book, we got X-Force number 15, classic battle here between Deadpool and Cable. That's really all this book is. But because of these characters having met in the movies and, them being popular characters, especially Deadpool, this book actually has some significant value. Then we've got another New 52 book. This is Action Comics number 1 from 2011. And this is the Jim Lee variant cover. I believe it's like a 1 in 10. Maybe a 1 in 15. I forget exactly. Don't quote me on that, but if you know for sure, leave it in the comments below. It definitely is a Jim Lee variant cover, though, and, who doesn't love Jim Lee, especially on some DC stuff. Then we've got Captain America number 1, another variant. There's a couple variants in here. This one is also an incentive variant. It's the design cover. This is from the Rick Remender run, which I believe was the run that gave us... Sam Wilson taking over as Captain America, if I remember correctly. I believe it was 25 issues, and the last issue was where Sam Wilson becomes the new Cap. This is really great. Not only is it a design cover, but I'm not sure if you can see, it looks like it's on like loose leaf paper, and even has this little coffee stain down there. That's not an error or not a flaw on the book. That's actually printed like that. Pretty cool stuff. Then this one right here, really cool sketch cover, Virgin, no trade dress or anything. This is Civil War II, number 4. And at first I thought, oh, that's such a random issue. It probably has no value. It's actually the first appearance of the immortal She-Hulk, the resurrected version of She-Hulk. We have She-Hulk in the MCU. Is it something we could see? Maybe, but either way, it's still a nice little key and a really cool sketch cover nonetheless. And the last of the variant covers right here, before we move back to some other keys, is the Mighty Thor, number 1, with this Jane Foster cosplay cover. I am not super big into cosplay, and I'm not super big into these photo covers, but there is certainly a market among, people that are into cosplay, whether it's doing it themselves or, just, watching cosplayers and creating their stuff and, showing up to conventions and getting pictures with people. Like I said, not my thing, but definitely a very cool cover. On to what is a very underrated key. My buddy James from Mint Hunter Comics talked about this book recently. I grab it all the time when I find it for, low cost, $1 or $2, whatever. This is Detective Comics number 609, the first appearance of Anarchy, and it is my favorite, or one of my favorite covers of all time. Certainly my favorite Batman-related cover, and it is by my favorite Batman artist, Norm Brayfogle, who I think gets really overshadowed by Neil Adams, but in my opinion, I like Norm's stuff better than Neil's. Both of them gone way too soon. They're no longer with us, but absolutely great artists. Certainly the top 2 Batman in my eyes. Batman artists, that is. Then we've got Batman number 497. You might recognize this as a book that I gave away last week. And look at that comic karma coming back to me. I gave away a copy for the channel, and then I found a copy in a dollar bin. Can't be upset about that. This is a really sharp copy too. 9.8s of this book go for about $100. So, this might actually be something that I send in, or maybe it'll just end up in a claim sale and someone else can, go through the process of sending it in and seeing if it gets that 9.8 grade. Then we're moving on to Batman number 28. This is the first appearance of Harper Row as Bluebird, and this is obviously from the New 52 Batman run. The project with Harper Row, I think it was called Gotham Knights, did get scrapped, but that doesn't mean we won't see the character eventually. I think if they go with like kind of a lot of the New 52 Batman story arcs for the Matt Reeves Batman universe with Robert Pattinson, I think they will do very well. Court of Owls has already been hinted at. And these characters could eventually be introduced into that universe. I'm crossing my fingers because I really do like this run by Scott Snyder. Then we've got Green Lantern number 0, another New 52 book. There were certainly a lot of New 52 stuff in I'm not sure if it was all from one dealer or dispersed, but, definitely a lot of that available. This is the first cover appearance of Simon Baz. I've probably picked this up a bunch on channels because you're on in videos, because it's a book people really overlook because it was a number 0 whatever, not from the the actual run or whatever. So I think it's an underrated book. Then we've got Marvel Premiere number 29. This is the first appearance of the Liberty Legion. Now, do I think they are going to show up in the MCU at some point? Probably not. That's not something that I'm really banking on. But nonetheless, we got a 1970s first appearance key. I'm not going to pass that up for a buck. It's not a very expensive book. Maybe like, I don't know, $10 or something like that in high grade. This one is certainly not high grade, but whatever. It'll go in my box, and we'll see what happens. More Marvel Premiere first appearances. We've got number 35 now. This is the first appearance of the 3D Man. Not a character that I really know very much about, other than he had a couple issues in Marvel Premiere in the 1970s, and I don't really know much more about him than that, if he showed up very frequently afterwards. And the last of the Marvel Premiere books, this is number 44, the first solo appearance of Jack of Hearts. I think there's been some spec that this character is actually going to be in the She-Hulk show. We're almost halfway done the series, and we have not seen a lot of things that we've seen in the trailers, including Daredevil himself. So I've got my fingers crossed that we're going to have some really cool reveals in the second half of the series. Then we got some What If number 50 from the 1990s. This is What If Hulk Had Killed Wolverine. If you remember, it was either in my last video or 2 videos ago, I got a What If from the 70s. It was What If Wolverine Had Killed Hulk, a reimagining of Hulk 181. Well, this is another reimagining of Hulk 181. This is if Hulk had won the battle between the two. So it's got a foil cover, kind of gimmicky, but nonetheless, really great stuff. And, Wolverine fans, definitely check this one out. Now we're on to the only Silver Age book. I've had tons of haul videos recently where I've shown off Silver Age and Golden Age stuff, but this actually is the only Silver Age book that is going to be in this video. This is Duke and the Canine Patrol number 1. I really only put it in there because it is a number 1. It is from the Silver Age, and it does have some value. It's got a pretty cool cover. I'm not into like the whole crime comics thing, but I could see this being not only for crime people but also dog people, pet people. Pretty cool cover as well, with the perspective of things, with this, I guess I'm assuming this is the criminal with the mask on trying to get away, and the canine unit chasing him. Then we got Superman Man of Steel 19. This book I find very frequently. This is the second appearance of Doomsday. Nothing super special about it. It is a first printing, but not a very high valued book. And this next one's a little weird because this is not a comic book. This is actually a coloring book. This is the original 1983 Return of the Jedi coloring book. Now, if Star Wars fans out there, you probably know already, Return of the Jedi came out in 1983, so this is the coloring book that probably was released alongside the movie as a promotional item. And always, 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 when you find coloring books in the wild, you need to check every page. You need to check them because a lot of times they are colored or missing or, scribbled on with pen or something like that. Fortunately, I flipped through and not a single page had been colored in, and I actually paid more than $1 for this one. This one I know I paid $2 for, a whopping $2. But I checked on eBay, and similar condition with no pages colored in, went for about $15. So I think I'm still in the clear there on profiting on that pretty nicely. But yeah, really cool. I don't often intentionally pick up coloring books, but something from the 80s or before for a major fandom that's not colored in yet, yeah, sure, I'm gonna grab that. Then we got Youngblood number 1, but something a little bit different about this one. If you may notice, it has a gold border. That is the second printing of the book, a much smaller print run, and this is a really iconic book. Whether you like Rob Liefeld or not, whether you're a fan of the story in here or not, this was the first Image comic ever to release. It definitely has a place in comic book history. And the second printing, like I said, a little bit more rare, not extremely expensive or anything like that, but something to look out for. Then we got Spider-Verse #2, and this is the first appearance of a couple different Spider characters. I believe there's, I forget exactly which ones, I apologize, but look it up on Key Collector. They always have a good list. A couple different Spider characters' first appearance, and given that we're not only getting Across the Spider-Verse, but also Across the Spider-Verse Part 2, I see some value in holding on to keys like this because, you never know who is going to show up in the multiverse. And then the last book before we get on to the 5 best ones, because I did save those for last. This one is I completely 1000% recommend reading this for any fan of Batman or anything like that. Jim Starlin's Batman the Cult. I was turned on to this recently by one of my friends. I got the whole run a couple, maybe like 2 months ago or so at a convention. I actually forget. I think I was Garden State Comic Expo maybe, but yeah, definitely look out for this. If you can get this for $1, any book in this run for $1 is a great price. And I think it's only a 4-book or 5-book miniseries. But yeah, Jim Starlin written, awesome, amazing Batman, and just very what's the word for it? It's really suspense building. It almost makes you anxious reading this. I'll be honest. I recommend it if you like that kind of heart pounding, suspense stuff. Anyway, moving on to the last 5 books, the best 5 that I got for sure. You saw this one in the beginning. You saw it in the thumbnail as well. We got Vengeance #2 with this amazing Del Otto cover featuring Bullseye. Not only is this an amazing cover from a really great 6-issue run, but it is also the second appearance of America Chavez, who is now in the MCU. Her first appearance, extremely sought-after book that had a rather low print run for what it was. I think the print run, if I remember correctly, was about 25,000 for issue #1, her first appearance. And it obviously declines as you go on and on in that miniseries. Some of them had as low print runs as around like 10,000. So I would expect this issue #2 probably to be in the 15 to 20,000 print run count. I can't say that for sure. It wasn't listed online anywhere that I could see, but I would assume that's somewhere where it is. It is a lower print run book for a modern age comic that's not, a second printing or something like that. It's got a great cover and a great, second appearance of a character who probably is sticking around in the MCU. Not sure what I'm going to do with this because I already have a copy for myself. But I also see some potential in America. I don't know. This one might be up for grabs, or I might end up holding on to it. Speaking of MCU characters, we know Wonder Man is coming at some point. This was his first solo run from 1985, and yeah, that's about it. This book's been selling for $20, $25 recently. And even his solo book from the 90s is doing very, very well, probably at about a $10 to $15 value. So, I'm really excited to see that. I heard it's going to be a comical show. I heard there's rumors that Ben Kingsley might reprise his role as Trevor Slattery, having some connection to the acting world and stuff like that. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but fingers crossed, because I really do like that actor and that character. Then we've got Green Lantern #182. This is the reintroduction, I believe, of John Stewart. He takes over as Earth's Green Lantern when Hal Jordan quits in the previous issue. It's kind of a mysterious cover. You're not sure who it is. And then eventually it is revealed in this book. John Stewart, definitely a fan favorite, was in the Justice League cartoon from the early 2000s, but hasn't really been utilized much in live action or anything like that. So hopefully we will see the character maybe in the HBO Max Green Lantern show. Then we've got a tricky one, Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures, the free comic book day book. I guess number 0 or not numbered. Doesn't really have a number to it. It's just a free comic book day giveaway. This is a tricky one because you wouldn't think it was anything, but it's actually the first appearance and first cover appearance of General Grievous in comics. And, that's a pretty major character, especially to, be premiered in like a free comic book day book. Now, this was the early 2000s, so the free comic book day books had not really caught on yet. Nowadays, everyone goes and grabs them and keeps them in nice condition. Back then, they were freebies. They weren't handled well. They weren't kept in good condition. So it's a little bit harder to find this book in a high grade. In fact, 9.8s sell for, I'm pretty sure, like over $300 if I remember correctly. And even raw like this, it's probably a $25, $30 book. Might get this one graded. It does look like it has some errors or some issues that will make it not a 9.8, but I'll have to check it out and see. And the very last book, and this one, I was blown away that this was in the dollar bin. I had to double check with this guy, like, hey, are all these books $1? He said, yep, this was Flash number 92, the first appearance of Impulse. This book went up pretty significantly in value during the comic boom, and it has since settled, but it is settled to a nice price of around like $30 or $40. It was up more in like the $70, maybe even $80 range for a while. But given that we don't really know what the future of the Flash is in the DCEU because of all the problems with Ezra Miller that have gone on in the last year, there certainly is some potential for this character to eventually get introduced. I don't think that it will be like, he'll be first up to bat or anything like that. I think we would likely see like Wally West before we see this character. It's something that could certainly happen eventually. And not only, I was just talking with someone about this, not only is this his first appearance, but it's just a great iconic cover, first cover appearance, all that stuff. And you don't get that super often with characters where they're the focal point of the cover on their first appearance. But this is definitely one of those to consider for that. Anyway, I think this haul was great. All of these books are probably at the very least worth $5 each. Most of them are more like 10, some of them 15, some of them 20, especially the last couple that we saw. So paying $1 a piece, I'm sure I'm going to do very well off of this. This was 30 books. So I spent $30 and I'm not even sure the amount, maybe a couple $100 worth of stuff. So definitely a great hunt this past weekend. And this weekend coming up, I'm going to be out again. And then the weekend after that is King Con. If you're in the New Jersey area, definitely come check it out. I will not be selling there myself, but I'll be helping Jim from Bronzeville Comics on his booth. I'm going to help him set up. And I'm sure I'm going to be bouncing around the room throughout the day, filming some content and all that stuff. But hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave that comment and like this video so you can get an entry to win the weekly giveaway book right here, Ultimate Spider-Man 160, and turn those notifications on by clicking the bell button so you know when future content is coming out. And until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.